back to my kitchen. My name is Rabbi Finn and you are here for Shemot Snacks from Bournemouth and Elstree Night Synagogue. This week is Parshat Tisa and we are going to be making probably what most people consider to be my signature dish, or certainly my signature dessert. This is the one dessert that everybody wants when they come to my house, and everybody is disappointed if I haven't made it. Now in truth, because of lockdown, I actually haven't made this dessert in nearly 15 months. This is my lemon pavlova ice cream. Yes, you heard me correct, my lemon pavlova ice cream. Now I'm going to demonstrate for you the recipe for 2 litre. To be honest, when I'm hosting people, I have to make a big 4 litre batch that lasts a couple of meals. The best thing about this recipe is that it tastes absolutely incredible. The second best thing about this recipe is actually it is Pesach friendly. Yes, we've now had Purim, which means we are in the countdown to Pesach. So I wanted to share with you a recipe which you can definitely make and enjoy over Pesach, as long as you buy either a kosher for Pesach Parve cream or a kosher for Pesach cream. This is super simple. We're going to make it in 3 parts. Part 1 is going to be making the meringue element. The second part is going to be making the lemon curd. The final part is whipping up the cream and then mushing it all together. Now this recipe actually has a really funny story, because I wanted to make a lemon pavlova, but as I was making my meringue, something just didn't work. So I thought, why not just shove it all into keep making it, cook the meringue, it didn't work great, but put it all into a pot, shove it in the freezer and serve it as an ice cream. And bingo, voila, the lemon pavlova ice cream was born. But if you want to make it perfect, let me show you what you need. Firstly, you need a completely dry bowl. If there's any water in there, it's going to stop your eggs from going nice and thick and fluffy. The next thing you're going to need is an electric whisk. If you try and use your hands, it ain't going to work. You're going to just exhaust yourself. Start off, get 3 egg whites. Do not chuck away those egg yolks. You're going to need them for the lemon curd, but 3 egg whites. Put them into a bowl. And you're going to whisk it up on its highest speed. And it's going to take a couple of minutes because you want it to get it to a soft peak stage. So I'll show you the stage, how you want it to look in a couple of minutes time. Okay, so it's been a couple of minutes and let me show you, this is what my egg whites look like. They are looking a bit like the foam on top of a cappuccino. That is the best way to describe that. And look, if you look at my whisk, you see just a little, it's holding its shape. But if you put this in the oven, it's gonna fail completely. So what you need to do is, whilst it is still being whisked, add in 175 grams of caster sugar. This is really important, caster sugar. 175 grams of caster sugar, and you want to do it a couple of tablespoons at a time until it is all in there. Once you've got all of the sugar in, keep whisking for a good 2 to 3 minutes, and you want it to turn super thick and super glossy, to the point that if you held it over your head, you're not going to get any in your hair. Now, I've got no worries about that because I've got so little hair, but if it fell on me, it'll just make a mess. But I will show you in about 5 minutes time the final meringue product. After putting all the sugar into my whipped egg whites, they no longer look like cappuccino foam. It looks like the kind of foam or putty that you would do if you were doing some decorating or some plastering. Now, to know if it's done, it should have this beautiful gloss that you can see on it. It's really holding its shape to the point that if I stick a spoon in, it stays stuck. And you know what? Come on, let's do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? Yes! It is perfect. So now what you want to do is put this on to a tray, and it really doesn't matter if it looks beautiful, it doesn't, just plonk it on. I'm going to do it as 2 bits, and you'll see why a bit later. And I want it to have as many peaks as possible, because I want as many crunchy bits as possible. So 2 beautiful meringues. You want to get as much of this mixture out because it's going to form the base of your ice cream. You're going to bake it in an oven at 150 degrees Celsius for about an hour to an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 15 minutes in fact, let's say. An hour and 15 minutes at 150 degrees Celsius, and then leave it in the oven to cool down. Turn the oven off. You might want to leave the oven door ajar, but to be honest, I just leave it. I make this normally on a Thursday night. I leave it overnight, and then Friday morning I finish off the ice cream ready to serve perfectly either later that evening or the next day. So get all of your meringue mixture in. This is beautiful. Make sure you get the stuff from the whisk, which is still hanging there. this is like brilliant. I do love making meringue. There's something unctuous about meringue. There's something amazing. And it's so easy. I don't know why more people don't do it. It's so easy. Look how easy that was. That was, what, 8 minutes worth of effort, of which 99.9% of it was done by this machine. So, this is what it looks like. 2 tablets, one could say, of meringue, and they are going to go into my oven to cook for, as I said, about an hour and 15 minutes until they're done. You don't want them to burn, but you don't want them to get too, you don't want it to be too underdone either. And forget about it. The next stage we're going to do is we're going to make our lemon curd now so that it can also cool down overnight. Okay, so my meringues are in the oven, they're cooking, they're going beautiful. It's time to make our lemon curd, which is going to be the base of our lemon pavlova ice cream. This is absolutely beautiful because you get that wonderful sharp lemon, perfectly balanced by sugar. So let me show you how to make it, and it's super simple. This is not your traditional lemon curd. Don't call in, don't email, don't comment. This is my way of doing it, and it works. So into a pan, I'm going to put 175 grams of caster sugar, and I'm going to squeeze, get the juice out of 2 lemons. 2 lemons. So 175 grams of caster sugar and 2 lemons. Always a good idea to check that you don't have any cuts in your hands when you're doing this part, because if you do, well, trust me, you're going to find out soon. So let me just squeeze all the juice out. And as I'm doing this, let me try and explain about this week's portion, because this week's portion of Tisa, one way of reading it, is the most depressing portion in the entire Torah. It's actually the most depressing portion we've had thus far. And on the other hand, it is also one of the most uplifting portions, and one to give us real comfort. That's one lemon. The second one's coming in. Why is it the most depressing? Well, this week we have Chet HaEgel, the sin of a golden calf. When Moshe doesn't come down after the Jewish people expect him because they've got their days muddled up, they basically go and build this golden calf and start dancing around it and start worshipping it and start making offerings to it. And what's worse is that they're saying that this is the God who took us out of Egypt. Obviously it can't be, because they literally just created it themselves a moment ago. And that is probably the worst moment, certainly at that point, of the Jewish people. And, you know, arguably with that and the sin of the spies, which is going to happen in a few weeks' time, you know, it really is neck and neck as to what is the worst moment in Jewish history, pre-destruction of the temple and post-Exodus. And it's a horrible moment. And why do I say it's also uplifting? Because at the end of this week's portion, or by the end of this week's portion, Moshe argues with God, and God forgives the Jewish people. And this is a moment which sets up the rest of our history, because that day of forgiveness is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The very first Day of Atonement, the very first day of forgiveness for the Jewish people happens in this week's portion. So we have the worst sin of Jewish history, and then the moment of forgiveness. And this sets up the Jewish people for eternity, because God says, you know, when you do something wrong, if you do the following, the Yud Gimel Midot, the 13 attributes of God, if you say them, then I will forgive you. Hashem, Hashem, Kerachum, V'Chanun, the center point of what we do in our Yom Kippur service, appears in this week's portion. Now let me just, I've added in my 2 eggs. I'm going to mix in the 3 egg yolks from earlier. And at this point, you want to give it a bit of a mix, just so that you mix in the eggs, the sugar and the lemon. Now, as I said, it's not that we can just simply say Hashem, Hashem, Kavach and V'Chanun as like some sort of magic spell and God will forgive us. Rather, we're supposed to internalize those Yud Gimel Midot, those 13 attributes of God, and try and emulate God. And when we try and emulate God, we become better people, and therefore we become deserving of forgiveness. So this week's portion, on the one hand, is the most depressing, on the other hand, is the most uplifting. It's depressing because the Jewish people fall so quickly after the revelation, after hearing God's voice. But it's also uplifting because this is the moment where we learn the secret to God is also to Teshuvah, forgiveness. So get this onto a heat. And what you want to do is you want to bring this up to a boil, and you're going to need a whisk, and you're going to keep whisking it once it starts to get hot, and you want to whisk it until it becomes quite thick. So it's probably going to take about 5 minutes at least to cook. Once it's done, I'll show you the consistency, and then you put it into a bowl and leave it overnight with a bit of cling film on top, but I'll tell you all of that again in a few minutes time once it is ready to show you. Okay, so you want it to get to quite a strong boil. You want it to be really bubbling up. Be very careful because this is going to be very, very hot. Keep mixing it, keep whisking it the whole time. It almost looks like you're making candy, for example, a lemon sherbet or something like that. Let me just see if you can see it. You can see some of the colour there. Smells incredible. And keep mixing it until it starts to thicken up. And once you're happy that it started to thicken up and you've got it to a really strong bubble, it's almost like boiling over, then you're able to put it aside into a bowl and leave it to cool. If once it's cooled you find it's not that thick, it's still super, super runny, then maybe put it back on the heat for another couple of minutes. But the main thing is, once you've got it up to a rolling boil, you can probably be confident that the eggs are cooked through. The main thing you don't want is to get scrambled eggs. So I'm fairly confident that this is now done. It's become a much paler colour. It feels like it's getting stiffer and harder to work. So I'm just going to pour it in to my bowl. That is perfect. Let's put that over there, and let me just show you here. This is it. And this I'm going to leave to cool down, and then in the morning I'm going to take the meringue, I'm going to crush it up, I'm going to whip up the cream, and this is going to be absolutely amazing. And then finally I might even reveal what on earth my lemon pavlova has got to do with this week's portion. So welcome back to my kitchen. I'm ready to actually make up the ice cream. My meringues look absolutely incredible. Let me just show you this. Two amazing, let's call them tablets, I don't know why, tablets of meringue, which just look incredible. My lemon curd, lemon jammy curd is beautiful. It's nice, it's thick, it's lemony, it smells amazing. And now it's time to make the actual ice cream up. So get a small carton, 225 grams of Parve Whip. If you want to make this milky way, just use 250 millilitres of double cream. And what you want to do is whip it up until it's relatively thick. You don't want it to be over thick, that it's then caught in your whisk, but whisk it quite well. And then once it's well whisked, you're going to add in 2/3, in fact 3/4 of your lemon curd to the mix, and then give it a further whisk. So I'm going to whip it up, then add the curd. Then I'll show you the final product. Okay, so I've whipped up the cream. It's at this soft peak stage. Just to show you, it probably best described as shaving foam stage. So we've had lots of different kinds of stages of whipping, and now I'm going to add in the curd into it. So about, as I say, 3/4, somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4. It's quite thick, this one, because I boiled it ever so slightly too long. But that's not going to affect the flavour one bit. It's just going to make it slightly harder to get off the spoon. And give this a really good whip. It's going to, the cream is going to go much looser for a moment, and then it's going to start to thicken up again. Okay, so now we are ready to put everything together. And for me to actually reveal why it is we are making this amazing lemon pavlova ice cream, or lemon meringue ice cream, for this week's portion. Well, as I mentioned, I've constantly been referring to my wonderful meringues. These are absolutely amazing as tablets, because in this week's portion, as we know, after Chet HaEgel, after the sin of the golden calf, Moshe takes the tablets and he drops them. He smashes them, and they smash into lots of little bits, and then he also gets the golden calf and he crumbles it all up and makes the Jewish people actually, those people who were involved in the sin, drink some water with the golden calf. That doesn't end well for them, but trust me, eating this will end up well for you, unless you're diabetic, in which case probably wouldn't do it. But that's the connection. This is my representation of the tablets being smashed into smithereens, but this is, as I say, got this bittersweet element, because on the one hand this portion is really quite bitter because of the sin of golden calf, on the other hand there's this sweetness because this is the secret of forgiveness. So smash in, rather inelegantly, one of the meringues and give it a really good mix in with the cream. Now your meringue is going to have that beautiful soft, chewy, crunchy kind of texture, so it's perfect for this ice cream. I'm going to use the other meringue in a moment's time. And actually I'm going to smash probably about, another half in. This is the kind of meringue, to be honest, I just want to eat. And once you're happy, get your containers. Now, as I say, I normally make a 4-litre batch when I'm hosting, but seeing as it's at the moment just me, I've made 2 litres worth. I'm going to put them into 1 litre container, one for me and one for somebody who is going to be very, very lucky. And literally plonk your ice cream mix into a container, like that. You don't want to fill it all the way. I'll show you why in a second. You're going to push it down. Doesn't matter if you're crushing your meringue, that's fine. Leave the rest there and get some more of your meringue. That's why I say only chop up half and just crunch it on top and push the little shards into the ice cream. I love this ice cream. And get your remaining lemon curd. And I like to use a fork. I just like to drip bits of it on top of the meringue, on top of the ice cream. And this just, A, looks really, really impressive. And everybody who comes asks, ooh, what's that? And B, it just adds a really strong hit of concentrated lemon. So let me show you. There you have it. That is my lemon meringue ice cream, lemon pavlova ice cream. I'm going to put it in the freezer. It takes about 3 to 4 hours to set, and then it's so soft to serve. You don't need to let it out of the freezer before you do it. I hope you give this a try. Have a great week. Shabbat shalom.